The ring had been on my finger for exactly 3 days when my mother stole it. 3 days of running my thumb over the Art Deco setting, feeling the weight of 3 generations of women who'd worn it before me. Grandma Rose had pressed it into my palm on her deathbed, bypassing my mother entirely. "For my fighter," she'd whispered, her eyes still sharp despite the morphine. "The one who understands that pretty things can be armor too." Now I sat in the chemo chair, poison dripping into my veins, staring at the pale band of skin where the ring should have been. The nurse, Donna, noticed my distress. "You okay, hon?" Nausea kicking in. "My ring," I said numbly. "It's gone." I'd noticed that morning, but assumed I'd misplaced it in the chemo brain fog. But when I'd called my mother to help me look, her response had chilled me more than the 4 fluids. "Oh, that old thing? I took care of it." "What do you mean, took care of it?" "Pawned it. Tyler needs a car for his new job. Can't expect him to take the bus like some peasant." I'd hung up, dressed, and driven myself to treatment in a haze of disbelief. Now, 3 hours into my 6-hour infusion, the reality was sinking in. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Thanks for the car money, sis. Mom said you were cool with it. Check out my new ride." A photo followed. A used BMW, probably worth 3 times what the pawn shop gave for my ring. Then Dad. "Your mother told me about the ring. Smart choice. You might not even survive to wear it. At least Tyler can use the car." I stared at that text until the words blurred. "You might not even survive to wear it." Donna returned with ginger ale. "Sweetheart, you're white as a sheet." "My mother pawned my grandmother's ring," I heard myself say. "The one she left me. For my brother's car. Because I might not survive to wear it." Donna's face went very still. She'd been my nurse for 3 months, had held my hand through the diagnosis, the surgery, the first brutal round of chemo. She knew my family never visited, never called except to ask for favors. "That ring," she said slowly. "The Art Deco one you showed me? The one worth about $30,000. I nodded. Grandma Rose had it appraised for insurance. Depression-era platinum, a 3-carat center stone, custom designed by my great-grandfather, who'd been a jeweler before the war. "They pawned a $30,000 ring," Donna continued, "for a car. While you're fighting stage 3 breast cancer. At 29. Tyler needed reliable transportation," I said, parroting my mother's words. "His job at the vape shop is really important." Donna did something I'd never seen in 3 months of treatment. She sat down right there on the chemo ward floor and looked me in the eye. "Lillian," she said, "what are you going to do about this?" "What can I do? I can barely keep food down. I can't work. I'm living off savings and disability. I need them." "No," she interrupted. "You need us. The nurses who show up. The doctors who treat you. The friends who drive you to appointments. Not the family that steals from you while you're fighting for your life." She was right. But knowledge and action are different beasts, especially when you're poisoning yourself to stay alive. "I don't have energy for revenge," I admitted. Donna smiled, sharp as a scalpel. "Good thing revenge can be passive. Like paperwork." I didn't understand then. But Donna had been an oncology nurse for 20 years. She'd seen every kind of family dynamic, every type of cruelty dressed as care. And she'd learned some things. "First," she said, standing up, "we're going to finish your treatment. Then you're going to make some calls. Starting with your grandmother's estate lawyer." The chemo brain made thinking hard, but certain facts were crystal clear. Grandma Rose's will had been specific. The ring to me. The house to be sold, proceeds split between her children. Various smaller bequests to grandchildren. But there was a codicil. I'd forgotten about it until Donna mentioned lawyers. A provision Grandma had added after watching my parents favor Tyler throughout my childhood. If any beneficiary deliberately deprived another beneficiary of their inheritance, they forfeited their own share. My mother had taken my ring, my documented, legally willed inheritance, and pawned it for Tyler. "Hello, Shaw and Associates?" I said, my voice stronger than I'd felt in months. "I need to speak with someone about my grandmother Rose Keller's estate. There's been a theft." Gerald Shaw himself called back within an hour. Grandma Rose had been one of his first clients, and he took interference with her final wishes personally. "She pawned the Keller ring?" His voice was arctic. "The one your grandmother specifically wanted you to have? While you're in treatment? For my brother's car." A long pause. "Lillian, I need you to listen carefully. Do you have any documentation of this? Texts, emails, anything?" I forwarded him everything. Mom's casual admission. Tyler's thank you. Dad's note about my survival chances. This is unconscionable, Gerald muttered. Rose would be livid. She loved that ring. Wore it every day for 60 years. What can we do? First, we get the ring back. Pawn shops have to hold items for 30 days before selling. Second, we invoke the codicil. Your mother forfeits her inheritance share, about $200,000 from the house sale. That seems extreme. Your grandmother put that clause in for exactly this reason, Gerald said firmly. She told me, and I quote, "That daughter of mine would sell Lily's shadow if she could find a buyer. I won't let her." Even dead, Grandma Rose was protecting me. The next morning, between bouts of nausea, I did 3 things. First, I had Gerald file the paperwork. Legal notice to the estate that my mother had violated the terms of inheritance. Second, I called the pawn shop. Turned out, Mom had used my name for the transaction. Identity theft on top of regular theft. They were very interested to hear from the actual Lillian Keller that the ring had been stolen. Third, I changed my emergency contact at the hospital from my mother to Donna. If I was going to survive this, I'd do it with people who actually wanted me to. The explosion came that evening. I was home, trying to keep down some broth, when my phone erupted. "Mom, what have you done?" "Tyler, are you fucking serious? You're taking Mom's inheritance over a stupid ring." "Dad, your grandmother's lawyer called. Fix this now." I turned off my phone and went to bed. The next day, I felt well enough to go to the pawn shop with the police report. The owner, seeing the documentation and the obvious theft, returned the ring immediately. I slipped it back on my finger, feeling its weight like armor. Tyler was arrested 2 days later when he went to the pawn shop demanding his money back. Turns out, screaming at a pawn shop owner about how your sister owes you because she's gonna die anyway is not a good look. Add in the identity theft charges, and my brother's new job was in jeopardy before he'd even started. But the real satisfaction came from the family meeting Gerald arranged. Mom, Dad, and Tyler on one side. Me, Gerald, and surprisingly, Donna on the other. "The will is clear," Gerald stated. "By taking and pawning Lillian's inheritance, you've forfeited your own share, Margaret. The house proceeds will be split between your brother Thomas and Lillian." "She's sick," Mom sputtered. "She doesn't need money. Tyler needs." "I'm sick, not dead," I interrupted. "Though apparently you're already dividing my assets." "You've always been selfish," Tyler spat. "Even cancer couldn't change that." Donna spoke for the first time. "I've been Lillian's nurse for 4 months. She's had 8 rounds of chemotherapy. Major surgery. Radiation starting next month. Not one of you has visited. Not one of you has called to ask how she is. But you stole from her the moment you thought she was weak enough not to fight back. Who is this person?" Dad demanded. "This is family business." "No," I said quietly. "This is my business. My ring. My inheritance. My life that you've already written off. You might not even survive." Mom shrieked, echoing Dad's text. "Then I'll die wearing my grandmother's ring," I shot back. "The one she gave to her fighter. Not to her thief of a daughter or grandson who thinks he's entitled to everything." Gerald cleared his throat. "There's one more matter. The criminal charges." "Criminal?" Dad paled. "Identity theft. Grand larceny. Elder abuse, since the theft occurred while Lillian was undergoing medical treatment. Would you like to work out a plea deal, or should we proceed to trial?" They caved, of course. Bullies always do when faced with actual consequences. Mom signed over her inheritance share without further fight. Tyler got probation and community service. Dad, who'd escaped legal consequences, found himself socially shunned when word spread about what they'd done. Because Donna, bless her, had connections. The oncology community is small and tight-knit. Soon, everyone at the hospital knew about the family who'd stolen from their cancer-stricken daughter. The story spread to the community, to their church, to Dad's workplace. "How could you?" became the refrain they heard everywhere. I finished chemo 6 months later. Rang the bell with Donna and my chosen family. The friends who'd driven me to appointments, the support group who'd held me during the dark nights, the aunt, Mom's sister, who'd been horrified by the whole affair and stepped up when it mattered. The ring caught the light as I rang that bell, its Art Deco angles throwing tiny rainbows. Grandma Rose had been right. Pretty things could be armor. But more than that, they could be reminders. That I was worth fighting for. That I deserved beautiful things. That survival wasn't just about breathing, it was about living with dignity. 2 years later, I stood in front of a mirror in a wedding dress. The ring moved to my right hand to make room for the band my fiancé would place on my left. Connor had met me at my worst, bald, sick, abandoned by family, and loved me anyway. You sure you don't want to invite them? He asked gently. Last chance. I thought about it. Mom had tried reaching out once the money was gone, full of apologies that rang hollow. Tyler still posted bitter Facebook rants about his selfish sister. Dad had simply disappeared into his shame. I'm sure, I said, adjusting the ring. My family is already here. And they were. Donna in the front row. Gerald and his wife. My support group sisters. My aunt. Connor's wonderful, loving family who'd embraced me immediately. Everyone who'd shown up when it mattered. The ring sparkled as I walked down the aisle, not toward the family I'd been born into, but the one I'd chosen. The one that knew my worth had nothing to do with survival odds and everything to do with the fight in my spirit. Grandma Rose had known, had seen the fighter in a little girl overlooked in favor of her brother, had protected me even from beyond the grave. They thought I might not survive to wear it, but I did more than survive. I thrived, with a ring on my finger and love in my heart, and the knowledge that when someone shows you who they are, pawning your inheritance while you're fighting cancer, you believe them. And then you fight back with everything you've got. They had no idea what was coming next. But now they knew. Some things are worth more than money. And some people are worth less than the metal they'd sell you for.